Hey there, Knicks fans. We are so excited to announce that Fanatics Fest is back in New York City this summer, taking over the Jacob Javits Center from Thursday, July 16th to Sunday, July 19th. You can meet your favorite athletes from every major league, including current Knicks like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, and Karl-Anthony Towns, and the legend, my guy, Patrick Ewing. Catch live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports, while experiencing interactive activations from top leagues and brands. You could also grab exclusive merch and discover one-of-a-kind memorabilia from sports and entertainment, buy, sell, and trade collectibles with hundreds of top dealers, and best of all, connect with fans from around the world who share your passion for sports. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com, and when you use that promo code KnicksFilm10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase. How about that? It's an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you will not want to miss it. All right, welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, where we are going to talk about an embarrassment. If it sounds like this postgame show, you've heard it before, it's because it's probably going to be a little similar to the one I delivered after the Pistons game, I guess about a week and a half ago. It's late, though, about 12:36 a.m. here, East Coast time, so I don't know if I have quite that level of energy in me. So this might be a little bit more subdued. But make no mistake about it, the tone and tenor will be very similar. This was an embarrassing performance on all fronts. It was an embarrassing performance by the team. It was an embarrassing performance by... It was an embarrassing showing by the organization, and I'll get to why in a bit. And every player who showed up tonight should be embarrassed about their performance to some degree. And yet there is one player involved who should be more embarrassed than everybody else. And yet I would bet pretty good sum of money that he's the one guy sitting in the locker room right now thinking that he did not do a blessed thing wrong. And why, oh, why is all of this bad luck befalling on him? Poor old him. We'll get back to that in a bit. For starters, I know a lot of people listen to the post games after these late games without having actually watched. So let me give a quick summary. The Knicks came out and played with absolutely no urgency of any kind from the opening tip, which combined with the fact that they could not shoot the ball at all. They were 1 of 19 from 3 in the first half. No, that is not a mistake by me. They were absolutely like as ice cold as we've seen them all year. And on top of that, Jalen Brunson played 5 minutes in this basketball game because he appeared to turn his ankle, stayed in for a possession, went back to the locker room, was questionable for the rest of the first half, and then right before the halftime ended, the Knicks announced that he was out for the game. The thing where I want to start, and I really want to make this all about the Knicks, but I can't in good conscience do that. I can't not emphasize enough how bad and embarrassing in their own right the Kings are. The Kings are the worst franchise in the National Basketball Association, and it is not close, despite what you may think about the Knicks after tonight. The Kings are a walking disaster. If the Knicks played that game and shot in that way against any other team in the league, and Benji had a tweet to this effect earlier tonight, they would have lost by 40. And I'm not exaggerating. I maybe the Wizards, it would have been closer than that. But against, 25, 26 other teams, the fact that this was a competitive, there were moments in the fourth quarter where you're like, oh my God, we're one shot away from making this a game. It speaks to how much of a disaster Sacramento is, which should just further emphasize how embarrassed everybody involved in that basketball game from a Knicks perspective should be about what happened. And look, there's going to be a temptation to write this off in all sorts of different ways. There's going to be a temptation to write this off as the Knicks ended up shooting 8 of 41 from 3. There's going to be a temptation to write this off because Jalen Brunson only played 5 minutes. There's going to be and you know what? I'm sorry. If I have to hear one more fucking time that, it's this time of the season, this shit happens. Look what's happening to Houston. Look what's happening to, name a lot of teams around. Look what happened to the Lakers, although the Lakers are dealing with their own bullshit. But we're going to get to the bullshit that the Knicks are dealing with, I promise. Yeah, great. Whatever. Playing an 82-game season is hard. And showing up night after night is hard. Forgive me, that falls short tonight. That excuse falls short tonight. If the Knicks showed up tonight and played with any amount of urgency out of the gate, and yeah, I do have to include Jalen Brunson in this because he was on the court for 5 minutes, this should not be a basketball game against this team. And they didn't do that, and the Kings got a little hot in the first quarter, and up they went, and the Knicks couldn't hit shots. So here we are. It's not an excuse. I don't care what fucking month it is. It's not an excuse for this game. NBA Cup hangover. Give me a break. The statute of limitations has run out. You're not telling me they lost this game against this team because of a game that they played a month ago. Come on. It's ridiculous. The part that is the most frustrating to me, and again, I'm going to stay focused on the team at large for a minute here before I zero in on a guy that I think we need to have a conversation about. In the third quarter, the Knicks were actually trying. On defense, the Knicks were trying. Maybe not all of them, but the vast majority of them. The perimeter defenders on the Knicks were trying. They were trying in the fourth quarter. And yeah, that effort did lead to a fair bit of turnovers. I think the Kings had something like 17 or 18 for the game. Because again, that is what Sacramento does if you apply even a modicum of pressure on them. But I'm not sure if the most distressing thing about this game is how little urgency the Knicks played with for in my mind, most of the first half, or the fact that they actually did play with some urgency in the second half and they couldn't come back. And I understand some of that is the fact that they couldn't hit threes, but although, as I say that, look, it wasn't good, but they were 7 of 22 in the second half from 3. That's a normal bad shooting half. They were trying here and they couldn't do anything because, and this is if you're going to draw or you're going to add evidence to a big picture conclusion that we have already drawn about this team through whatever it's been, 3.5 months of the season, it is that they cannot stay in front of guys nearly enough. They cannot get physical without fouling. The Kings tonight shot 38 free throws. That's the second most that the Knicks have allowed in a game this season, and clearly they could not withstand anything resembling that. And it is just a sign that when the Knicks were put in a position where they're like, all right, we really got to start trying on defense, guys, they couldn't do so without failing. And yeah, sure, DeMar DeRozan is really good at drawing fouls. It's the reason why he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, after he retires, and he is going to retire with more points than a whole lot of guys who are a whole lot better than him. He's really good at that. That's great. He's one guy. And the Knicks, in theory, have 4 above average to elite perimeter defenders. The problem is None of those guys are playing like it right now. You know, I'm sorry, like Deuce, yeah, you're part of that conversation too, dude. OG Anunoby, I don't know where his defense has gone. I think it's been under or below par for a while. Mikal Bridges, been well documented how much he is really just not all that much of a force on the ball. Deuce and Josh Hart, like none of those guys did their jobs. And if you can't stay in front, and you can't prevent, penetration, like this is the shit that's going to happen. You're going to get these sorts of defensive performances, and it's just not good enough. Sorry, I had to crack open a beer after that performance. First drink I've had this week. Very, very proud to say. So like there's questions with where this team is at in terms of their competitive spirit, in terms of whatever kind of malaise they are clearly still in, despite what I thought was a pretty good week for them in the last 3 games, give or take a first half against Phoenix. There's questions about their ceiling because of the issues on the defensive end. Obviously, there remains massive, massive questions about their ability to generate commensurate offense when Jalen Brunson is not on the court. There are legitimate questions about all of these things, and that's not a great place to be. I understand that they are going to wake up tomorrow and they're still going to be second in the East, and I don't want to disparage that, and I don't want to disparage all of the wins that they have gotten this season, but where they're at right now, it just reinforces, I feel like, a conversation that I've been having with different people in different formats who have gotten pretty upset about the way things have gone for a little while now, which is just like, this is what they are. They are a flawed basketball team. They have real flaws that could come out against the best teams. It could come out against the worst teams. So that's all a real concern. I think they could beat anybody in the Eastern Conference playoffs when they get there. I think they could probably lose to anyone in the Eastern Conference playoffs when they get there. Like, buckle up, because barring some massive thing that is, I don't count on happening, that's going to be the case entering the playoffs. Doesn't matter if they're 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, whoever they match up against. Like, we're going to go into that series knowing full well that if the Knicks go out there and they're on their bullshit, and again, the more worrisome part, it's not even about them fully being on their bullshit. There are just real flaws with this team. They're not a great team. They could be a great team on some nights, but that's not that encouraging. So I wanted to get that all out of the way, because it would be unfair and inaccurate to make a loss to the decrepit Sacramento Kings about one player. And yet, I don't know at this point what I am supposed to do with Karl-Anthony Towns. My history with him since he has gotten here has been pretty well documented. I really enjoyed his season last year. I think he enjoyed his season last year, which is part of why I enjoyed his season last year, and fans enjoyed his season last year, because he was having fun, and it was just it was like there wasn't ever a whole lot of pressure on him. Anytime anything went wrong, it was, well, why are the Knicks not maximizing Towns with the lineup choices that the coach is making, and this, that, and the other thing. So Towns had a great year. Playoffs came. I was very underwhelmed by his performance in the playoffs, despite some nice moments. And that playoff performance and their ultimate elimination was capped off with an article by my buddy Fred Katz and his colleague James Edwards III, in which they spelled out in no uncertain terms that this is a player whose teammates, the guys that are trying to compete with him to win a championship, suspected just wasn't serious about winning in his approach to the game. I could pull up the article, but it was essentially that he did not only did he not know the coverages all the time, but he didn't care to know the coverages and didn't seem to, I think the correct phrase was, grasp the severity of the issue. And that landed like this big old matzo ball. And then I read that after the playoffs that I had watched, and I'm like, and that's when I started to get on my own bullshit about like, hey, Suns want to trade Kevin Durant. He's making a lot of money. Cat's making a lot of money. Would it be so insane to at least kick the tires on that sort of deal? And we know what happened with Kevin Durant. And after that happened, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Smart move. You don't want to be trading for a 37-year-old and cut your window short for that. Hey, newsflash. The Knicks would be better if they had Kevin Durant instead of Karl-Anthony Towns. But I digress. So we went through the summer. Giannis noise started happening. Again, apparently the Knicks, like, those conversations didn't really go anywhere. And then we get into the season, and I had my little meltdown against the Bucks game because I'm like, it's year 10, and what the fuck are we doing here? Why are we asking the same questions about this guy after he's been in the league for a decade? And it's always the same bullshit. Why are we not activating him? Why can't we figure out how to use him properly? What's going on? At what point does the accountability fall on him? But that you know, that crash out, I take responsibility for, and it was over the top because that was crashing out about an on-court thing. And I conveniently forgot after what was a very bad game by Karl-Anthony Towns that on the court, this guy has had over the course of his career some absolutely spectacular moments, and can look like one of the 10 best offensive players in the game. He has bad games. He has amazing games. And to make it out to be like he's never figured it out, or no coach or team has ever figured out how to use him offensively, that was unfair of me. And it was an overreaction. And I walked it back. And now here we are. 3 months into a season, 3.5 months, whatever the hell it is. And I just watched a guy who, coincidentally or otherwise, spent the last 9 minutes of the previous game on the bench, and who, coincidentally or otherwise, in the days and maybe weeks, but definitely days leading up to that benching, has had multiple press conference and media appearances in which he has sounded like he would walk back to Minnesota if they would have him back. I don't know, maybe he'd walk to any other team, but just generally a guy who did not sound enthused about the situation that he was in and what, you know, like just the larger picture here, you know, which of course then reminds us of the things that he said before the season started about, I don't know what my role is. That's what it is about Karl-Anthony Towns. You know, he's not a dumb guy. He's smart enough, and if you listen to him in post-game or in any media availability, he will almost always say the right thing when it comes to like the standard questions and standard answers, which is like, it's all about the team. It's all about helping my teammates. It's all about getting better as a team. He again, not a dumb guy. He knows what to say. He's been at this for a very long time. He had media spotlight on him before he stepped foot on campus at Kentucky. Not going to make it. I'm not going to give y'all a line about media training. No, fell for that one once. But he knows what to say. He's not a dumb guy. And yet, if you catch him in the right moment, or the wrong moment, I suppose, he'll let you know what's really going on. And the most revealing quote of the season for me was whatever it was. Honestly, at this point, forget which game it was after. But when he talked about no one has had to sacrifice as much as I have, and I'm paraphrasing here, but the point was unequivocal. No one has had to sacrifice as much as I have, and no one has had to adjust as much as I have. What, pray tell, has he had to sacrifice? And what exactly is the adjustment that he's had to make? Because I'm watching a guy that is essentially going about his business on the basketball court the exact same way he was last year. And yeah, he's taking a couple of fewer shots. He's also playing fewer minutes. if you and I wrote about this a little bit this week, and a couple of people correctly pointed out to me that when I compared the shot attempts per 36 minutes this year to last year, I did not factor in the increased free throw rate. So when you throw in the increased free throw rate, it really is like kind of a wash. Like, yeah, he's taking a couple of fewer attempts, but really not by much. And so this just strikes me as a guy who's not happy. And I don't know why he's not happy. I don't know if it's his unhappiness is purely because the team that he thought he was going to spend the rest of his career with traded him. I don't know if it's because, you know, he's doesn't like, I don't know, certain guys in the locker room. I don't know if it all comes down to his problems with the head coach, which, I mean, if that's not obvious, I don't know what could possibly be more obvious. I don't know what it is. But that dude didn't give a shit about playing a basketball game tonight. He didn't care about it at all. I've been watching this sport for 32 years. And in 32 years, I have never in my life witnessed what I saw on the basketball court tonight, which was Karl-Anthony Towns on yet another drive into the abyss, fall on the ground as Precious Achiuwa, lest we forget to talk about Precious Achiuwa, who made Karl-Anthony Towns tonight look like other centers used to make Precious Achiuwa look. So stole the ball from Cat, go up the court. It's 4-on-5. Cat's teammates at this point are, again, giving some effort on the defensive end. They managed to get a stop. They managed to force a bad shot. The ball misses, but because they only have 4 guys on that end of the court, I think it's Precious Achiuwa, of course, managed to tip the ball back out, or maybe the Nick got a hand on it. In any case, the ball, I'm picturing myself watching this because I'm seeing the ball go over half court. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Cat's going to grab the ball. And we're going to get the easiest bucket of the night. And I forget what they were down by that point, but it was like a manageable deficit. It was the first half. And I'm watching the ball and I'm watching it go. And I'm like, what happened? Where is Karl? And then finally, the ball bounces far enough into the back court where the camera moved enough to show Karl-Anthony Towns still sitting on the floor. What in the actual fuck are we doing? To the point that it gave time to a Kings player to come down and grab the ball. And of course, it was still 4-on-5, so they eventually scored. I lied. I guess I do have some gumption at 1 a.m. What the fuck? You can't win with a player like this. You can't win with a presence like that in your locker room. You can't win if everybody has to go into work every day in this profession. And as Mike Brown has been touting and preaching since he took this job, this is about selflessness, and this is about everybody else matters more than me. If that's the ethos of how you win an NBA championship, and I don't know of an NBA team that has ever won a championship without having that ethos and that mentality in the locker room. Yeah, you can afford to have a player or a couple of players who are not bought in to that degree. But if your prominent players are not, for the most part, all on board, doesn't mean everybody's going to be all on board all of the time. These people are human. But if you are a member of a locker room and you are constantly looking over your shoulder wondering, well, what mood is he going to be in tonight? You know? Like, how do you go about your business like that? And I'm going to end this by going back to where I started, which is that tonight represented an organizational failure. Because Leon Rose had an opportunity a year and a half ago. Let me rephrase that. Leon Rose was put in a tough spot a year and a half ago. And you know why he was put in a tough spot? Because he did too good of a job 2 years prior in signing Isaiah Hartenstein to a deal that was unfortunately ended up being so below market that lightning struck And the Thunder found themselves in a position where they had cap space to use, and they had to use it that summer. And that was the guy who filled the need for them the most. And that was an unfortunate circumstance. And it was an unfortunate circumstance that nobody could have seen coming. With all due respect to Isaiah Hartenstein, I remember the conversation I had one home ago with Bobby Marks. That trade deadline, not a year before, not a year and a half before, that trade deadline in which he predicted, incorrectly as it turned out, in no uncertain terms that, no, like, come on, maybe the Knicks are going to have to go above the mid-level, but that would be tough if they had to do that. Well, turns out giving Hartenstein the max still couldn't get it done. That was an unfortunate reality, to lose a player who was in many ways part of the heart and soul of your team, to say nothing of what he did on the basketball court. And he, God knows, I will love Isaiah Hartenstein until the day that I die, because of everything he gave constantly. Everything that Karl-Anthony Towns isn't, Isaiah Hartenstein is. And at that point, there was a crossroads, and we knew they needed a center. And look, I'm not going to sit here and go back and rehash, could they have traded Randall for, a guy, making Clint Capella or someone like that. They had a lot of different options. None of them were good. None of them were good. And I want to acknowledge that. But you had to be aware enough that for all the talent on your team, Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo was still here, obviously, at that point. Julius Randle was still here. He's pretty talented. Mikal Bridges, because you had traded for him at this point. For all the talent on your team, your best quality was not in your talent. Your best quality was in that certain something that made the Knicks the Knicks. And that is indescribable, but you know it when you see it. And it was what made that team so much fun to watch and so much fun to root for, because you never had to question if guys were out there on the court, they were giving it their all. Maybe they didn't have their all on some nights, but they gave their all. And that wasn't because of the coach. Did he have something to do with it? Sure, because he's a freaking Looney Tune. But that was in them. That was in them. And in going out and making this guy the highest paid player on your team, who on a night when your captain goes out, and if Jalen Brunson could have played tonight, he would have played. On a night when he goes out, you go out there as the highest paid player on the team, as allegedly one of the leaders on the team. That's what Mike Brown said recently, that Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are our leaders. You go out there and I don't even know what that was. And it wasn't just that play. I mean, just watch any possession in which he touched the ball. It was all about just, he was frustrated, and why isn't it working, and all of that. It's the Karl-Anthony Towns in his head and up his own ass that we've been seeing for 10 years. Can't win with him. Can't win with players like this. And look, may he change. Again, I'm going to refer back to that article that Fred and James wrote after the playoffs. It was right there in black and white. No one ever refuted that. There was never any reporting that went against that. No, how about this? No player on the team ever came out and had Cat's back after that came out. Everybody saw that. His fucking agent tweeted about it. Nobody refuted it. And not a blessed thing has changed. So I ask you watching, Karl-Anthony Towns, although God knows you don't consume anything because Your ego is so fucking fragile that if anybody said anything that might further damage it, where would we be then? But I ask anybody, what has changed? What has changed? And the answer is nothing. Nothing has changed. I don't know what's going on in Milwaukee. I don't know what that situation is going to happen, what was going to happen with that situation between now and 3 weeks from now. I don't think that there's an answer there. And if there's not an answer there, I don't think there's going to be an answer anywhere else in the league. So, like, to pretend that this is a problem that the Knicks could solve. I mean, I talked to Steph Bondy yesterday. I asked him, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked would you be if something happened? And he said, yeah, well, other than Giannis, no, I don't see that there being any possibility. And you know why they're not going to make a trade? I'll tell you why they're not going to make or at least attempt to make a trade. The owner told you why a couple of weeks ago. Oh, we have the team. We have the team. Who do you think's telling him that? It's not hard to connect these dots. So, look, I hope this isn't the sinking ship that I know I'm probably making it out to be right now. I'm sure Cat's going to have a lot of good games between now and the end of the year. If you're a Knicks fan out there and you still have faith in his ability to be one of the top guys on a team that's going to win a championship, God bless you. Because I'm done. I'm just done. That's it. I don't got anything else to say. Let's go through our best bets presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. We had 3 bets tonight made for a plus 650 parlay. Let's see how we did. So we had Josh Hart over 7.5 rebounds. He got 5. And Mitchell Robinson, 10 plus rebounds. Thank you, Sean, with a W, for having some good sense. Mitchell Robinson, I should say, was the only good thing about this game. He had 11 rebounds. Good job by you and good job by him. And then last but not least, Jordan Clarkson. Mensa took for over 8 points. So what do you know? We hit 2 out of 3 legs on our parlay, which is, I think, as many threes as the Knicks hit tonight. So that's great. Shout out to Fanatics Sportsbook. You can see these best bets on the Fanatics Sportsbook app before every game. And, yeah, shout out to them. Okay. Let's see what people want to talk about. Bill Peterfriend starts us off. This team after that half should be embarrassed. I agree, Bill. I agree. Next up. Riyadh. What's going on, Riyadh? I've seen enough. Only a Greek god can save us. You know what? That may be true. I don't know. Then we may not be saved. Because there's so much that would need to happen for that reality to come to pass. Thanks, Riyadh. John Leary, get JB new shoes. He injures his ankles every year. I mean, is he not a good enough player to get his own shoe? Like, I don't follow shoe culture at all. Like, I don't know what determines who gets their own signature shoe and who doesn't. But you would think, he'd get his own shoe at this point. But I don't know. Maybe that's not the answer. Thanks, John. Hushu, Cat can't score on Precious. This is not a contender. You said it, not me, Hush. No, I think I said enough, though. Thank you. Ziad, what's going on, Ziad? Precious Revenge wasn't on our bingo cards. This feels like a new low. Is this lower than the Detroit game? I mean, they're 1A and 1B, so might be. Thanks, Ziad. Riyadh with another one. You would have thought they'd want this one for Mike. Oh, I'm so happy you brought that up, Riyadh. I do this every post game. There's always something that comes along with one of the super chats, and I forget to mention it. I'm like, you idiot. That should have been one of the first things out of your mouth. I thought about that several times tonight. I thought about, and look, this is not me trying to say like this team doesn't like Mike or doesn't believe in Mike, but like How often have we heard that in sports? Oh, they really wanted this one. And you know what? If there was ever a time where a team should have wanted one, Mike Brown got hosed in Sacramento. Like, he got fucking hosed. That was unfair. He did not deserve to get fired. That organization is an utter disaster. Everybody knows it. Everybody around the league laughs at them. Now they're laughing at us, obviously, because we lost. But, like, and look, there is a minuscule part of me that wants to give them some credit for really, because they did fight in the second half. Most of them, they fought in the second half, and maybe that was for Mike. I don't know, but like I'll just acknowledge, Riyadh, that I thought about it and I don't know what to make of it. Thank you. Next up, JDM. Won't happen because they're contenders, but they should seriously consider just dumping Towns for what you can get. Clearly not working out with Mike. I don't think it's a coach. I'm going to sound like a broken record. I didn't think the coach was the biggest or near the biggest issue last year. I don't think the coach is the biggest issue or near the biggest issue this year. I think Mike Brown's done a good job. You know, that wasn't coaching. Again, like if this team was going out there and dogging it repeatedly, like, look, their effort was not there tonight to start. That's on them. That's not on Mike Brown. They haven't quit on Mike Brown. They've largely played hard all year. You know, now, are they still buying into what Mike Brown is selling as far as like running Mike Brown's offense? Notice, Mr. Brown hasn't been talking about sprays lately. His beloved sprays. You know why? Because they're not spraying anymore. We got a Mike Brown quote, courtesy of Kev here on the ones and twos. Mike Brown, after losing to the Kings. Hold on one sec. I can't read it because my camera's in the way. All right. I really need to move this camera. This is one of the worst, if not the worst, I've seen us play the entire year in terms of following the game plan. The Kings took it to us, and we didn't respond in any way, shape, or form. Even before Jalen got hurt, we were out there going through the motions. He's exactly right. And that's the harshest I think I've seen Mike Brown criticize his team so far this year. And maybe he needs some of that. Maybe some of the good guy stuff is starting to wear thin. Look, I'm not, this one's not on Brown as far as they should consider dumping Towns. I've said this for months. That's the other part of the reason why, like, when Phoenix obviously was going to trade Kevin Durant, I was like, I bet you they could talk themselves into Towns. And then after the Durant trade happened where he went to Houston, I've said this repeatedly on multiple formats. Where is the Towns trade? Seriously, where's the team? Where is the team out there that's going to look at Karl-Anthony Towns after what he has been for 3 months this year and going to say, yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. Let's grab him while he's already extension eligible and clearly views himself as a max player and is not a guy that's going to generate offense for us and is going to be someone that we have to consider and game plan around on defense. Again, I always miss things. I went on my whole rant about Leon Rose not being in tune enough to what made the Knicks when he made that trade. I didn't even touch the encore part of it. So I don't know what you do there. Thanks, JDM. Ethan Jaffe, what's going on, Ethan? Effort, togetherness are in all the buzzwords people will use tonight, but it's pretty hard to win when we have 0 players who could beat anyone off the dribble. You want to call someone out for being an asshole? Start with this guy right here, 2 thumbs pointing at me for when I had the audacity to suggest whatever it was a month ago that OG Anunoby should be in the conversation with Jalen Brunson for the most important player on this team. Boy, what was I smoking that day or night, whatever it was, because I'd like some more of it right now. I could use some of it. They don't have anyone else. Now, look, again, they did generate a lot of decent threes tonight, none of which went in. So it's not like their offense is complete. But again, who are they playing? You know, they're playing the fucking Kings. So, you know, it's a great comment, Ethan, and you're absolutely right. And that's all there is to it. It's a structural issue with the team. One of several structural issues that they have. Thanks, Ethan. Jack Corcoran, say what you want about Tibbs, but outside of February of 2022, I can't recall his team's flat just not showing up as much as this one has since the Cup. I wanted to change, but something smells rotten right now. Well, look, again, I don't even want to go down this road because it's just going to make me very upset, and I'm going to say a lot of things that I don't want to say. The team had a lot of no-shows under Tibbs. We conveniently forget them. Last year, the starting lineup went out there and played a lot of games where you watch them play at the outset and at the start of the third quarter, and you're like, what is this? Have these guys met before? I thought this was supposed to be the most prepared team, or the coach that had his teams the most prepared in the league. They didn't always play like it last year. If we're calling a spade, call it like it is. They did not always play like it last year. Now, we can talk about the reasons why that is, and this is where I want to try to focus this. Again, I do not think this is a coaching issue. I did not think it was a coaching issue last year. I do not think it is a coaching issue this year. Thanks, Jack. JDM, at least I can go to bed with a smile on my face with Harbaugh. Sorry, GMAC, your Jets will be good someday. I texted a few people in the last 24 hours before they made the hire official, which I did see tonight, that if the Giants hired Harbaugh, I would root for the Giants. That if the Giants hired Tomlin, if the Giants hired Tomlin, I would root for the Giants. Thankfully, I don't have to do that now because I don't really give a shit about Harbaugh. And no, if the Jets hire Mike Tomlin, I will not become a Jet fan because I just don't have it in me. Apologies. Thanks, JDM. Bulldog basketball promo. What's going on, man? Who hangs up first? Cat for Precious, straight up. It's 1:17 in the morning. I don't know that I have it in me to go through fake cat trades, but again, it's like you're obviously kidding, but because the salaries don't match. It's funny. I said, you're kidding because the salaries don't match. That was my first go-to, not because the Knicks wouldn't entertain trading Karl-Anthony Towns for a guy who got fucking waived by the Heat earlier this year. Oh, Lord. My goodness. All right, let's move on. Hush Zoo, what's going on, Hush? We got to rely on this 7-foot doofus, just reading the words here, being our number 2 on a championship run. I don't care what he did last year. This dude in his feelings because he has a new role. Look, he's always been a mercurial guy. I think I said this on a recent post-game show. If I didn't, I'll repeat it now. All the things that were written about him on his exit from Minnesota. What a nice guy. What a great member of the community. All of those sorts of things. None of them were about how are we ever going to make up for toughness, locker room presence, any of those sorts of things. Not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. Thanks, Hush. Brunson Burner, what's going on, Brunson Burner? Brunson goes down. Team can't buy at 3, but it's all Cat's fault. I knew we were going to get one of these. New York slumps in January, and everyone online wants to blow it up for Giannis. Makes sense. Bro, I got to push back here, man. The everyone wants to blow it up for Giannis. if they had a chance to get Giannis Antetokounmpo this summer and they didn't, and it was like the chance was like Cat and like, basically if they got to keep OG and they like didn't engage with that, then shame on all of them. They should all be fired. The notion that like we're too good for Giannis Antetokounmpo, that is I cannot express to you how much that infuriates me, as not as a Knicks fan, but as a basketball fan. This guy's awesome. He is awesome. And I know he doesn't look awesome maybe nowadays in Milwaukee because he doesn't want to be there and his teammates know he doesn't want to be there and everybody in the organization knows doesn't want to be there and they're playing like it. But this guy's still one of the 3 or 4 best basketball players on the planet. So if there are Knicks fans out there who are like, hey, this guy's booing his home crowd. He said he wanted to come here. His agents, his representatives clearly want him here. He probably wants to be here a lot. Can we maybe like try to get that guy? I'm not going to have any issue with anybody who wants to walk that down that road because they're just like good. Like, what's wrong with that? Now, as far as blaming it, it's not all Cat's fault. And that's the thing that I want to, there's a reason why I spent the first 12 and a half minutes of this post game not mentioning Cat once. This is a team loss. You don't lose to that team like that without it being a team loss, without real structural problems. But to stick your head in the sand and not acknowledge what we are witnessing with our own. If you watch that game from Karl-Anthony Towns and you're like, yeah, no, it's just an off night from him. Everything's fine. Or watch any one of dozens, like literally dozens of games he's played this year where he's just not there. And you're like, it's fine. And you don't think that that's having an impact on the locker room? He doesn't try to hide anything. He is the most out there. Benji said this recently. When he's good or whether he's bad, no player in the league is louder than Karl-Anthony Towns. He does not beat around the bush. Come on, man. I get it. The guy gets a lot of shit. And I'm partially responsible for that. But you know what? I'm sick of it. Thanks, Brunson Burner. Riyadh, what's going on, Riyadh? 2 days off versus the 30th ranked offense and 29th ranked defense, missing 3 starters. Leon Rose ruined his legacy on 2 trades that altered the entire ethos of the team. This era will be another what if in Knicks lore. Look, I'm still not jumping off any cliffs. Like I meant what I said at the top of the show. This team could still beat anybody in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And if they make the finals, who the hell knows what happens? And they could also lose to anybody. Look, the Bridges trade, I have no issue with Mikal Bridges. I like having Mikal Bridges on my basketball team. You overpaid for him, whatever. All of that stuff in a vacuum is never going to keep me up at night. The fact that you gave away the Giannis picks for Mikal Bridges is like the thing that I will always wonder about, and I wonder if Leon Rose will wonder about. But I think Mikal Bridges fits very well in with what you want to have on your basketball team. Is he perfect? No, he's not perfect, but I do think that he's about the right things. So thanks, Riyadh. Mr. Fabro, what's going on? Don't worry, guys. This team is actually super talented. You just haven't met their talent. It lives in Canada. I don't know what to do with that. But yeah, anyway. Thanks, Mr. Fabro. Anthony, what's going on? I have had nightmares that made more sense than this team. This has to be the game that makes Leon realize he has a bigger problem than he thought. Look, if they're sticking their head in the sand, but I don't think that's what it is. It's very clear to me what happened. The team crapped out. The owner was not happy. The owner wanted someone to blame. he was served ahead on a silver platter, and that person went by the wayside. But if that's the guy whose fault it is, right? If it was Tibbs's fault, because that's what was sold to the owner, who's the only one that matters, well, then it couldn't have been a problem with the roster that Leon Rose assembled. So I don't think there was ever going to be a moment this summer where he's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we actually have this other problem. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Let us take a quick respite here. One, to do our stat of the game, presented by our good buddy Jonah Kaufman, KFS intern. Stat of the game is 46. That is the Knicks' true shooting percentage in this game. Unsurprisingly, their worst true shooting percentage in a game this season. It was a bottom 20 true shooting percentage by any team in the roughly 1,200 outings so far this season. That is atrocious. They shot a season low 19.5% from three, had their fourth worst marks in both field goal percentage and free throw percentage. Okay. And then on that note, it's the return of our friends at Yule. Hold on. I got to get my Yule up. What do we got here? Oh, nice. We got an iced coffee flavor that I just pulled. So you guys, Yule's I haven't talked about Yule in a while. It doesn't mean I'm still not a consumer of Yule. Yule has become part of my routine for quite a while, for instances like if I'm rushing in the morning and I don't have time to have a proper breakfast, or instances like tonight where I'm going to be up until about 3 a.m. and it's going to be like, oh, I'm ready for breakfast. Well, I don't want to start cooking eggs, so I'm just going to crack open a bottle of their Black Edition, which is great because it has 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 vitamins and minerals, and it comes in a lot of great flavors like iced coffee. So yeah, it's there for me when I need it. And again, their products are like gluten-free, no artificial sweeteners. It's under $5 per meal. So it really is all the things that you want and none of the stuff that you don't. Okay, we have a limited time offer. You could get Yule's full high protein starter kit today with Knicks Film School's exclusive offer of 20% off. The code is KFS. You go to Yule.com, that's HUEL.com/KFS. And it's new customers only. And yeah, there we go. Yule, shout out to Yule. I'm going to take a sip right now. Really is quite good. Okay, let's keep it going. Vantes? Let's go with that. You think Tibbs is available? We need the All-Star break badly. It's January 15th. All-Star breaks in 4 weeks. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm not saying you're wrong necessarily, but like I don't want to hear it. Go out and play basketball like you're paid to do. Next up. Brunson Burner with another one. Tibbs, precious revisionism. As soon as New York loses is reactionary. What we just saw against Portland still matter too. Can't get too high, too low mid-season. I'm not trying to get too high or too low on the team. I thought the Portland win was great. I thought the Clippers win was great. I thought the Suns loss was encouraging because of what they did in the fourth quarter. There is a degree to which, like, it's okay to have off nights. It's okay to not have your full, like again, like this game matters more than anything. That's not gonna happen every night. But there is a precipice. And I do think it is not unreasonable to ask a team that calls itself a contender to not fall below that precipice, especially again against a team that if you go out there and you play semi-serious basketball, you're going to win by double digits. Tibbs' precious revisionism, I could give a shit less about that. Precious had a great game. Good for him. Leave it at that. Next up, Kevin Danishevsky. What's going on, Kev? Tonight's on Cat. I mean, look, it's not all on him, but I don't know what to tell you. Other guys missed shots, but he set the tone. Disgusting effort. Pretty disgusted with OG letting Precious Achua flagrant McCall without a response. Bad. Yeah, I don't think this team is, how should we say this? I don't think they're the closest knit. I not to say that they have like a terrible locker room or anything like that, but again, that's one of the other differences between the team now and the team a couple years ago. Even Julius, look, Julius was. You want to talk about volatile? Julius was volatile. He's also having a better season than Karl-Anthony Towns, to be clear. But Julius was like, Julius was a foxhole guy. I really do believe the other players viewed him that way. I always think Brunson had the utmost respect for Julius. The team now, there's still a core there. Josh, Jalen, I think Deuce, I think McCall, but yeah, it's not the same. Thanks, Kev. Also, OG, can you start defending again, please, like you're capable of? Adam, what Towns just did in that game was embarrassing. Opportunity with Brunson out to assert himself, and an absolute no-show. I said what I said. I don't have anything else to add, but yeah. Thanks, Adam. Mink Daddy's back. Why Mink Daddy? I haven't asked him that. Why did Fred Katz choose this name? I don't know. The Knicks look worse than old Johnny Mac after mid-armpit scrub. He drops the soap. That's what you went to there, Fred? Really? That's what you went to? You know what? I respect it. Thanks, Mink Daddy. Hush with another one. I can't wait till we blow up this core five. This team now going on to 2 years is so infuriating to watch. Playoffs start in 4 months, by the way. Definitely enough time. Look, putting aside your reaction to this game, for one, I don't want to blow it up. I would like to get a certain player off my team. I don't want to blow it up. I love Jalen Brunson. I love Josh Hart. I'm again putting what we traded for him aside. I like Mikal Bridges. I think OG Anunoby is a really, really valuable piece that, he's like a mercenary, but every team can afford to have one mercenary if they're good enough. And I do think OG is good enough, love Deuce, love Mitch. I like some of the kids on this team. I know Kolek didn't have a good game tonight. I think that didn't help them at all. But I like some of that stuff. It really is just, there's just one guy at this point that I just don't believe in anymore. And that's a really frustrating position to be in as a fan. So, thanks, Hush. Robert Cross, what's going on, Rob? How you doing tonight? First time, long time at your boy John. Was not a fan of the Towns trade from the jump. It has gone worse than expected. Highs are infrequent. Lows are too frequent. Yeah, I mean, he had... I could recall it because I went through it in the moment. He had a great game 3 against Detroit. He had 3 all-time shots at the end of game 4 against Detroit. He had a few moments against Boston. He had what should have been an all-time legend Game 1 performance against the Pacers, and he had one of the greatest fourth quarters in Knicks history in Game 3 against the Pacers. So add that up. What does that equal to in 18 playoff games? You know, is that worth what you're paying him? Is that worth what you expect from the player who inhabits the role that he has on your team? Is that enough? I don't think that's enough. Thanks, Robert. I am AK Legend. What's going on? Cat's numbers, 13 points on 5 of 14, 1 rebound at the half, and finished with 5 total. He fell down and watched a whole possession. Trade him. I just want effort. And this was your night to show it. Terrible. I'm not going to lie. As soon as Jalen Brunson hobbled off, I put, again, shame on me. I went into my Fanatics Sportsbook app and I put $10 down on the Cat over at that moment, which was, I think, 28.5. Because I was like, oh, Cat's going to now go for 40 tonight. The Kings can't stop him. Who do the Kings have to stop him? They have no one to stop him. And we know what happened. Like, and you know what really is the worst part? Like, there's so much that I'm mad about with him, and yet there's a part of me that, like, it feels disingenuous for me to come on here and be like, dude, you're making $53 million. You're supposed to be the second best player on the team. The best player goes down. You got to show up. Like, that's the talking head soundbite, right? That's the talking head soundbite. That's what's going to go around tomorrow. That's what's going to get all the viral bullshit. Karl-Anthony Towns didn't step up. I don't even view it that way, because as I was watching him deteriorate before our eyes, honestly, I wasn't even surprised, because I don't view him in that light. I don't view him as a guy that is going to have it in him to be like, Cap went down. I gotta muster it up tonight. I don't view him in that way. I just figured the Kings stink, and he's Karl-Anthony Towns, so he's going to be able to do what he does and start to make shots and feel good about himself, because that's what it all comes down to with Cat. It all comes down to, is he feeling good about himself? When he's feeling good about himself, man, there might not be 10 players in the league who you'd rather have. When he's not, different story. But that, then he's a glorified role player making $53 million. Thanks, IMAK Legend. Bulldog basketball promo with another one. Why would anyone want to pass the Cat? It's a black hole. On drives, he usually is. And then again, that makes it all the more frustrating when he will have a pass on a drive, because you're like, oh, he can do it. I don't know. It's not great. Hush Zoo with another one. Hush, thanks for all the contributions tonight, man. I don't think Cat could get me to the Randall level of hate, but him taking a nap on the ground for $53 million, genuinely F off, end the name Wingstop. Oh, yeah, we could bury Wingstop. You gotta stop some people to be named Wingstop. Can't have that name otherwise. And boy, again, talk about things that are getting real tired real fast. The notion that, like, don't worry, they're gonna start trying really hard on defense in the playoffs. I'm not like setting sail on that one quite yet, but I'm getting pretty close. This team just does. It is not in their ethos to defend, and I think that's. I don't know if that's going to be their undoing, but we'll see. Thanks, Hush. Hush with another one. We've now talked effort defense for 2 years now. Leon. I mean, I don't know. Did we question effort that much last year? Again, I have selective memory, so if the answer is yes, I apologize. To me, my recollection from last year was something about this is broken. And I can't exactly put my finger on it, but something about this is just broken. Oh, we got a quote from Mike Brown to James Edwards III. When you fall, you got to get up. That wasn't the only play. There were a handful we did that. But there was no sense of urgency. It was a 5-point swing. We watched at halftime, and he didn't even cross half court. That sums up our night. Hold on. I want to watch this again. Hold on. Let me turn the volume off. I just have to watch this for myself one more time. There he is on the ground. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi. Yep, still on the ground. I mean, it's only 7 Mississippis. So how many letters in Mississippi? M-I-S-S-I, S-S, 7, Mississippi, 11 letters, 11 times 7. It's only 77 letters. 77. It's not triple digits. Could be worse. Could have got up and gone to the bathroom. Yep. This is an actual quote. When you fall down, you gotta get up. It's a real thing that happened in a basketball game. Yeah. Thanks, Hush. Mr. Forever Fly, what's going on? If we really want to win the chip, you can't look at Towns and think he could be a number 2 to JB in the finals. Get him out of here. We can't waste JB's prime, have to view everything through a championship lens. It's not time for Super Chat of the Night. We only do Super Chats, or Chat of the Night. We only do Chat of the Nights on Fridays. But if I had a Chat of the Night to give out, I would give it to you, Mr. Forever Fly, because there is so much irony in what you're saying, in that they made the trade to bring this roster to a championship level to get a quote-unquote true number 2 to Jalen Brunson, because we questioned for the entirety of the time that he was here, we questioned whether Julius Randle was a true number 2. And funny enough, he sure looks like it in Minnesota. Now, he still goes through rough patches, but the interesting thing about the Minnesota team is they have an unabashed, unequivocal number 1. And then, Julius is their number 2, but he's not a number 2 like, J-Dub is a number 2, or Jamal Murray is a number 2, or, like Kyrie was to Luka as a number 2, or Jaylen Brown was a number 2. Because when you look at the totality of their team, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, they have some other players emerging this season. They're going to make a trade at the deadline. Obviously, Gobert is a force, even though maybe not so much on offense. When you look at their team, it's like, well, yeah, he's their number 2, and he might not be a great number 2, but he doesn't have to be a great number 2. He just needs to play his role. That was the January 2024 Knicks. That was what we were watching. And everybody was buying into their role, and you could have added Mikal Bridges to that core to strengthen the core even more. The only problem was you didn't have a center. And And that is where the irony comes in, because while they made that trade ostensibly to create a championship core, they did not view you can't tell me that you made that trade with the view of what is best for Jalen Brunson. And look, I talked myself into it. We all talked ourselves into it at the time, because you're like, how can anybody stop these two offensive players? And that's what you sold it on. You sold it on, how is anybody going to stop these two? Except for the fact that they do not make a good pairing on offense. Benji Ritholtz had one of my favorite lines in today's grade book, in which for Knicks Film School on Patreon, in which he wrote about Mitchell Robinson, and he wrote eloquently about Mitchell Robinson and the management plan that I have made fun of a lot, but it sure seems like it's working now. About how Jalen Brunson doesn't need a pick. I forget. I'm going to butcher the quote, of course, but it's that Jalen Brunson doesn't need a pick and roll partner. Jalen Brunson needs an offensive lineman, and he had some absolutely fantastic clips in there about, there it is. Jalen Brunson's dream center serves as his offensive lineman, not as his receiver. And that's absolutely the truth, because we know how Jalen Brunson operates best. So Cat is not the best for Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson is clearly not the best for Cat, because what does Cat need? Cat needs him a guy who's going to spoon feed him the ball. He needs a guy like Tyler Kolek, frankly, a better version of Tyler Kolek, but a guy like Tyler Kolek. Which is why it was always so funny that they never had a point guard. Jeff Teague wasn't that. They had this hard-on for D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell wasn't that. And then they finally got Mike Conley, but they got Mike Conley after they made the Gobert trade. So it wasn't a real 1-5. And like Anthony Edwards, obviously a great player, but he's not that either. So Cat has really never had this, not as a starting point guard. And so the partnership doesn't work on either end in terms of maximizing either of their individual abilities when they are on the floor together. And then you throw in the defensive stuff, and then you throw off the how they are just very different people when it comes to how they approach their professions, shall we say. And, it's just hasn't worked out. Next up, Frank Miranda. Oh, boy. Oh, Frank. I got to take a sip before this. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I guarantee you that Cat would welcome a trade to a smaller market. It is embedded in his DNA to be a big fish in a small pond star player. We should be pissed off at the front office if this is the case. Cat and Minnesota were made for each other. They were made for each other because you know what Minnesota has a lot of, and I could say this because our neighbors for 4 years in Brooklyn, who we became incredible friends with, they are from Minnesota. Shout out to the Bream family. They are just the kindest people we had ever met. And I've been to Minnesota. Like everybody I've ever met from Minnesota is super kind. It's just a town full of super nice people who aren't going to get on a post game after a loss like that and yell and scream and say all kinds of nasty things. They don't do that in Minnesota, and they don't really do that in a lot of small towns. But, Minnesota was so perfect because it got to a certain point. And it's funny, I have my guy, another one of our KFS interns, Theo, who covers the Timberwolves for Canis Hoopus, does a great job. And we've talked about Cat a few times because he covered the team for the whole time of Cat's tenure there. And I could tell from the way that he talks about Cat, it was just like after a certain point, it's not that it wasn't frustrating when Cat would do Cat stuff, but it was just like acceptance. It's like, oh, it's Cat. It's going to happen. It was a perfect situation for him because he never got too low. And when he was feeling a certain type of way, he never felt like the whole world was caving in on him, like I'm guessing he is starting to feel in New York. Because here's the thing, and look, Cat tries very hard, I am sure, to insulate himself from all of the criticism. Because certain people, there are two ways that people handle criticism. They either listen to it and embrace it and look themselves in the mirror and say, all right, either they're right and I need to fix it and I need to have some hard conversations with myself, or they're assholes and boy, am I going to go out and show them. And going out and showing them, that might entail accepting some of my own faults. But whatever I have to do, I'm not going to let these people say what they're going to say. That's one way of dealing with criticism. The other way of dealing with criticism is to just shut it all out. Because if you completely shut it out and you pretend like it's not there, then everything you're doing is fine. Then it's all hunky-dory. And if you're a guy who maybe surrounds himself with people that tell him, no, man, you're doing great. There's all this other shit going on. That's the issue here. And then you look on your basketball reference page and you say, well, I've made all these all-star teams. I've made these all-NBA teams. I've made all these threes. I've scored all these points. I'm going to make the Hall of Fame someday. Which is why the whole I'm the greatest shooting big man of all time thing, for as much as it is like something that people maybe unnecessarily poked fun at over the years, it's also like, if you're someone that feels the need to go out there and say at the age of like 25, 26 that I'm the greatest shooting big man of all time, why are you saying that? Who are you saying that to? And why are you needing to say those words to yourself? Listen, man, I'm not the psychologist in the house. That's my wife. She'd be much better served talking about all this stuff than me. But I'm a person in the world and I know people. So this is who he is. And I'm done. I'm over tiptoeing around this at this point. Let the repercussions be what they are. I don't really care. Thank you, Frank. Stan Van Poopy, great name. In a recent video, you had mentioned the Knicks have yet to lose a game to a bottom 8 team in the league. Yes, I did. Jinxed. Also, Achua was better than Cat tonight. It wasn't even close. Achua ate Cat's lunch, man. Absolutely ate Cat's lunch. Thanks, Stan. Kevin with another one. Gulp. I'd trade Cat for LeBron James. Throws up. Lakers don't do that trade. The Lakers want to, first of all, why would the Lakers want Karl-Anthony Towns? Do you think, I will say, Luka would probably get him the best looks of his career. But if you're going to build a defense around Karl-Anthony Towns, Austin Reeves, and Luka Doncic, I don't know about that. And the Lakers also, they want flexibility. They want to clear the books. They're not taking on Cat's money. They wouldn't do that. I have a LeBron James take that I'm saving for an NBA takedown snippet, but I'll save it. As much as the Lakers may want to be done internally with the LeBron James experience, I don't even think they do that. Thanks, Kev. Joseph, what's going on, Joseph? How you doing, man? I cannot comprehend how the Knicks looked absolutely inevitable 3 quarters into the San Antonio game 2 weeks ago, lost what Mike Brown called a gut check loss, and then completely fell apart and lost their identity. I hate to repeat myself on post games, but I'm going to say the answer that I think is the right answer, and it's something that I have said before. I said recently. I think when you have a team that is a little bit fragile, it doesn't take a lot for the snowball to start rolling down the hill. And I think the Knicks are fragile both on the court and then in the respects that I've been talking about tonight, off the court a little bit. But the off the court is, I do think, focused more in one place. So, it doesn't take a lot. And then you factor in the fact that, like, yeah, they are probably a little bit gassed, but gas doesn't, there's more to the night than they're gassed. We could agree on that. Do I think that they've completely fallen apart? No, because they've again, the Clippers win was a good win. That was a quality win. The Blazers win, that was a good win. That was a quality win. What they did in the fourth quarter against Phoenix, that was a quality performance in the fourth quarter against Phoenix. So they have not completely fallen apart, and I don't think they will ever completely fall apart because there is too much character in certain corners of that locker room. But the thing that I really just have to reemphasize, I think we were all getting a little high off our own supply, thinking that this was a team that did not have these flaws. The flaws were always there. They were just playing at such a high level that they masked them, which happens. Thanks, Joseph. User. Okay. My humble opinion, the best path to a chip was ... The 23-24 team, most well-rounded squad and had the right mindset. Shame we didn't run it back healthy and keep Ihart. Well, they couldn't keep Ihart. That was impossible. Not possible based on the salary cap restrictions. There was no way. If they could have kept him, they would have kept him. He wanted to stay. He did not want to go. The Knicks did not want him to go. That was a situation where a player had a chance to earn life-changing money. And as I will always say, I do not begrudge him it 1 ounce for taking the money. And now he's an NBA champion. So, look, my biggest what if, and I it might sound crazy. I will always wonder, you give me either the Nembhard shot didn't go in or OG doesn't pull his hammy. Pick one. Probably the OG doesn't pull his hammy because even if they had won against the Pacers, I don't know that OG would have been OG for the Boston series. Even without Randall, I would have loved for that Knicks team to take a shot at that Celtics team. With Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart, OG, Hartenstein, Mitch was still coming off the bench. You had Precious playing good ball. You had wait, no, Bogey went down, so I guess you did run out of warm bodies. Yeah, Alec Burks. So I guess, look, they probably would have run out of gas. But, like, man, I would have loved to see that team, even without Randall, take that shot against Boston. I really would have. Oh, well. Next up, Danishevsky's back with another one. Cat for Zubac, Bogey, and Collins' salary. Does it make a perfect team? No. But in my humble opinion, it's a rich man's version of the 2023-24 team, and I'd rather watch that. Again, I will ask you, why do the Clippers want Karl-Anthony Towns? They are looking at a scenario where they're going to be an LA team with cleared books. Cleared books. Karl-Anthony Towns is under contract next season, and he has a player option for, what is it, $59 million or $60 million or whatever the fuck it is. Ask yourself, Kev. Ask yourself, with how Cat looks this year, how old is he, by the way? He's 30? With how he looks this year, why precisely would we assume that Karl-Anthony Towns would opt out of his player option on the final year of this contract? Clippers don't want him. Lakers don't want him. Again, what team wants? I'm not. And again, this is not reactionary. I have said this ad nauseum. Every time the idea of a Cat trade comes up, when he has a bad game or a bad stretch, I'm like, there's no team out there. The team that would want him would be the team they played tonight out of sheer desperation and I don't want to say that. That would be the team. So, you want me to give you a team? I'll give it. So, and I asked this to Jeremy for a reason. When I saw the Jaren Jackson Jr. thing come up that they might be open to trading him, Jaren Jackson Jr. makes a lot of money. It seems like Jaren Jackson Jr. might be as out on Memphis as Ja is. So, if you're Memphis and you're really going to do a rebuild, like a genuine rebuild, could you do Triple J and stuff for Cat, and then you try to extract, again, the Knicks have a future first round picks future first round pick swap that they could trade, a distant first round pick swap. They have, their seconds. They have but again, Memphis is going to be like, hey, man, we're taking on this salary. We want Deuce, with it. And then all of a sudden you're really digging into your team. So I don't. The trade is Milwaukee. The trade is Milwaukee, and that only happens if one guy makes life uncomfortable enough for all parties involved. It's the only trade. I'm not holding my breath. Oscar, what's going on, Oscar? Is it safe to say we lose tomorrow without Brunson? I mean, the way this team's playing right now, I don't know. The way they look tonight, second night of a back to, I didn't even look at the minute totals tonight. Oh, yeah, not that bad. Mikal played 36, but Hart 32, Towns 33. A hard 33 minutes though for Towns. We should take that into account. OG 27. I don't know. I mean, probably. Warriors have been playing well. Thanks, Oscar. Ruel Santana or Ruel's Santana. What's going on? Do we believe that there are superstars in the league that would play well alongside Brunson? Haven't seen a good two-man game with him. Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think so. Hot take. I think he'd play well with Giannis. I think he'd play well with Giannis because Giannis would be essentially what Randall was here. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but Giannis likes to have the ball. So I think what you're getting at here is I don't know that there's any player that is going to turn Jalen Brunson into Steve Nash or a more of a true quote unquote point guard. But Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle made beautiful music together. And it was a little bit of a my turn, your turn, but at the same time, Jalen Brunson knew and always did utilize Julius Randle's gravity to his advantage. And I thought Julius Randle did a really good job of utilizing Jalen Brunson's gravity. How many great catch and shoot looks did Jalen Brunson get off of passes from Julius Randle? A ton. Do I think Brunson would have to adjust a little bit if he played with Giannis? And also, we've already seen Jalen Brunson play wonderfully with a superstar. His name was Luka Doncic. Now, again, he was in more of a traditional number 2 role, but those guys worked well together. Listen, you get Jalen Brunson on the court with a smart basketball player who's about the right things and is just out there trying to win. I don't get any questions about that. Ideally, that player defends, though. Thanks, who else? Frank with another one. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I said in the preseason that we would get an epic Mac cat rant. This was a teaser compared to the rant we are going to get come April or May. Man, I don't know. I'm just really frustrated, and I just believe it in my core that this guy is. It's not even that he's not about the right things, but I think to be a great teammate and to be a part of a winning culture, I want to say the biggest quality the top quality you need to have is openness. You need to be open to what people are saying about you, even if it's tough to hear. I think you need to be open to change, open to suggestion, open to maybe accepting the fact that, like, hey, you could stand to get better in this area or that area. Or, hey, maybe our best path to winning doesn't look like how you think it should look. Maybe it looks like this other thing. You got to be open. And I just don't think that he's built that way. So it is what it is. True genius. As much as we watch our Knicks, other teams are watching us too in these losses. We are getting exposed and they're figuring us out. I mean, there's nothing to figure out defensively. They just don't defend, you know? And the key to the Knicks is just keep passing it, you know, drive and kick. And then eventually you're going to get a good shot. I still don't think when this team is clicking that they could be exposed on offense. Like when Jalen Brunson's on the floor, like, again, I'm going to reference the article that Benji wrote. The Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson on the floor and Cat off the floor have, I think he wrote it's like 129 offensive rating in like 600 something possessions, something crazy number. Like, and look, that's whatever happens from here on in, that's still going to be the path to success. They're just going to have to outscore teams. I don't think that's changed. You know, I think they still can outscore teams. Obviously, they still got to do it, though. Thanks, True Genius. Joseph, what's going on, Joseph? First KFS podcast with James Edwards was spot on. New York got Cat, but potentially lost their grit and dog. Brown made Sabonis an all-star. Cat sacrifices. Get the F out of here. I don't know. If you're seeing sacrifices, point them out. Please, by all means. Thanks, Joseph. Brunson Burner with another one. Obviously, I would want Giannis. I just don't see it happening now, and I think this team is still worth riding out this year. And yes, I do watch games. I'm not saying you don't watch games, but if the way you phrased your previous chat made me at least think that what you meant was that based on what you have watched, they do not need Giannis. That's all I'm saying. And you wouldn't be the first fan to stick your head in the sand because you want to believe what you want to believe. I don't see it happening now either. And if your whole point is like, let's stop praying for a pipe dream and fix what's on the court, that's fine. I'm with you there. The problem I am now running into is I don't know, based on where just my head is at personally, whether I feel like I can get behind this team in the way that I really wish I want to get behind them. You know, so we'll see what happens. Thanks, Brunson Burner. Bulldog basketball promo with another one. Not even Vivek is dumb enough to trade for Cat after what he witnessed in person tonight. You know what's funny about that? You're absolutely right. After what he saw in person, he'd be like, why would we trade for that guy? It doesn't matter who would tell. That's Vivek. Time for Leon to give the moronic Joe Dumars a call? Zion ? I mean, man. I mean it. I don't see why would, seriously, why are the Pelicans trading for Karl-Anthony Towns? They just drafted Derek Queen. Derek Queen is their center of the future. He's a guy that needs the ball in his hands, and his defense is not his strength. He is like a Jokic light. He handles the ball. You know, the offense goes through him. You're going to pair him with Karl-Anthony Towns? Why? You know, why would you do that? I don't know. El Coriano 11, what's going on? Bucks probably not trading Giannis. How about Cat Yabu Dadier for Miles Turner, Portis, and Kuzma? Now you're thinking, El Coriano. Now you're thinking. Give size and defense the Knicks need. So I'm going to trust you that the money works, which 53 and change, 58 and change, 60 and change, 20. Yeah, that sounds like, well, hold on. You may have, no, I think because the Knicks need to send out more money than they take back. So Kyle Kuzma is, you want to talk about a frustrating basketball player. Kuzma's pretty frustrating. Portis, we know what Portis is. He's on the wrong side of, he's on the back nine of his career, but he is what he is. And then Miles Turner is also on the downside of his career, has not had a great year. I don't even know what he's shooting from three, but I could tell you he's not having a great year. This would be like, again, do I know for a fact? Obviously, I don't know anything for a fact, but like, would Milwaukee consider this? I have no fucking clue. I really, genuinely have no idea. But you want to talk about like a trade that I could be like, okay, I could see the other team in question actually thinking about it. Turner this year, he's hitting his threes. Give him that. The 54 effective field goal percentage. That's not what you want, but because he's hitting threes, not hitting anything else. But then again, he pretty much exclusively only takes threes now. Man, that would be the ultimate, like, yeah, we're doing addition by subtraction. But again, the fact that this is where we're at, where we're talking about Cat in terms of like it's addition by subtraction, just to like get some bodies in the door. Like the fact that we're here now, it's what a frightening place to be. What a frightening place to be. I points for creativity, man. Seriously. Mr. Forever Fly, he's just not a championship player. I mean, I guess we'll find out, right? Thanks, man. Steven Santiago, what's going on, Steven? If we as diehards see the flaws, so does the front office, and more so. Deep breath, everyone. Front office will make a move when they see fit. We are aware the window is shrinking fast. Steven, I want to believe that, and it's not that I don't believe it. I do have a lot of respect for the front office, and as much as I give them some shit because I think they maybe did not, or I maybe have some questions about how they went about their business this summer, I do believe in them, and I do think there's smart people there. And I of course, they see what we see. There's no way they don't see what we see. They're hearing and seeing everything. What again? If they decided tonight, we got to do something, and then the best trade that they were confronted with was something like the trade that we just talked about. If you're Leon Rose, do you pull the trigger on that? Man. And then if you pull the trigger on that, and then you're like, I hate to keep going back to this, but it's going to happen. Like, could you imagine if Leon Rose went into James Dolan's office and was like, listen, this Cat thing, it's not working. Nice guy, but like, it's butting heads with the coach, and like, he's it's like we think maybe he's taking his toll because he just fluctuates too often, and this and that and the other thing. And James and Dolan's like, all right, well, what are you gonna do about it? And then they bring that package to James Dolan. What do you think Dolan would do? Now, there may be people out there who have more faith in James Dolan than me, and he's going to just look Leon in the eye and be like, Leon, in you I trust. Go do what you need to do to make this team better. Knowing what I know about James Dolan, I don't, not sure that's going to be the response. But who knows? I could be wrong. Brian Letts, what's going on, Brian? Watching Giannis, who may want to come to New York, pull a Julius and boo his home crowd while sitting at the feet of Julius, who had just fouled him, is all the proof I need that we live in a simulation. You can't write it, man. You can't write it. And I was really happy for Julius. last night. I watched that first half. So I actually didn't see the booing thing live because I think it was at the beginning of the third quarter. But I watched the first half, and like Julius is playing out of his mind. He's playing absolutely out of his mind, and it's tough because the All-Star competition in the West is just going to be so tough, and I don't think he's going to make it, but he's been really good. He's been really good, so good for him. I mean that too. Like, I'm not just saying it. Like, I've been through it with Julius, obviously, but I'm happy for him. Genuinely happy for him. Thanks, Brian. Oh, I think we're done. All right. Well, this has been a fun one. Thanks, everybody, for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. If you love more of this uplifting content, please subscribe wherever you get your pods, and your subscribe on YouTube, turn on alerts, give us a nice rating, nice review. All the things you do to support the podcasters and content creators you love. I know this is not exactly a team that anybody is thinking about spending more of their money to consume coverage of. But if you have the desire to do so, we do have the Knicks Film School newsletter on Substack, as well as our exceptional content on Patreon from Benji Ritholtz, DJ Zulo. Great film breakdown of the Portland game, by the way, and Josh Hart's comeback by DJ Zulo. And then you get some bonus stuff from me, too. Podcasts, a couple written piece every month. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Sorry tonight sucked. Apologies to anybody who stayed up late to watch that. And let's hope it gets better from here. Talk to you later. Peace out.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.